Our Creator's word defines a type of character that He is building His eternal family with. He is building His family from those who will cleave unto Him with their entire existence and with all of their heart and with their entire mind. Cleaving unto Him includes hearkening to Him by trusting and obeying Him in all things. In Deuteronomy chapter 13, He explains that anyone who leads another away from the pathway that He gave to us through His servant Moses, that they are a false prophet or a false dreamer of dreams. In verse 3, He says that He allowed for the false shepherds who lead others astray from His pathway to exist. He gave us the reason why He has allowed for them to exist. He says that the reason that He allowed for them to exist is to test us or to prove us whether we love Him with our entire life and with all of our heart or not. Then in verse 4, He says, "You shall walk after Yahweh Elohim, and fear Him, and keep His commandments with the statutes and judgments, and obey His voice, and you shall serve Him and cleave unto Him." The question for you is, are you doing these 6 things, or are you following a false prophet or a false dreamer of dreams instead? The dreamer of dreams that He speaks of might be yourself. It might be your own heart that is led by Satan and his crew that leads you from doing these 6 things. In the next verse, He says that the one who takes you away from these 6 things should be put to death. This includes yourself if your heart is leading you from these 6 basic premises that we must do in order to be found in Yahweh's favor. Obeying His voice is all-inclusive. It includes putting our complete trust in Him in all things, including fleeing now that He has revealed the abomination of desolation. He says, "Cursed is the man who makes his flesh or the arm of man his strength." A good example of fearing and obeying His voice is found in Abraham. When Abraham lifted up the knife to slay Isaac per Yahweh's instruction to do so, Yahweh's messenger said to him in Genesis chapter 22, "And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And Yahweh's angel called to him out of heaven and said, 'Abraham, Abraham.' He said, 'Behold,'" referring to Abraham beholding the ram that was caught in the brush. And He said, "Do not stretch forth your hand upon the young man, and do not do anything to him, because now Yahweh knows that you fear Him, seeing that you have not spared your only son from him," referring to his only son through his wife Sarah. It was at this moment that Abraham was sealed into Yahweh's eternal family. He reached a point that he was going to trust and obey Yahweh no matter what, and leave the consequences to Him. The other day, Yahweh gave to me a parable through an event that happened to me on a physical plane. He gave this parable to illustrate what it means to cleave unto Him and to not let go of Him, and that He will cleave unto us and not let us be broken off from Him if we do. It happened when my wife and I were cutting down a large dead tree for firewood. Even the firewood part of it is pretty significant in this, as you'll find out in a moment. This tree was standing next to another, even larger tree that was still alive. I made the front cut and then the back cut, and then it just stood there stubbornly without moving. We tried to push it, but it would not budge. We then went and got the ladder and a tow rope and another rope along with a heavy-duty come-along, and I attached to it as high as I could and began to ratchet it down, or to attempt to. To my surprise, it just kept bowing in the middle. The top of it and the base of it would not move. This created a very volatile situation because of all of the tension that was on the rope. The amount of tension that built up was incredible. But the tree just kept bowing, and it was a very thick and dead, so solid wood tree. The heavy-duty rope eventually snapped, and I ended up quadrupling it, and even then it looked as though the tow rope hooks or the tow rope itself would not hold up to the immense pressure that they were under. I could barely move the ratchet one click at a time, but the top of the tree still would not budge. The way that the middle of this very thick tree bowed was one of the most incredible things that I have ever seen. Then I beseeched Yahweh for help, and it gave way, and it came crashing down with a very great fall. Even hidden within its fall was an incredible slice of the pie that He showed me later when He gave me the interpretation of this event. As I ratcheted it away, I had planned an exit sprint for when the tree started coming down, because I was in its reach, standing by the tree that I was ratcheting from. But when it finally gave way, a force made me freeze in place, and the tree slammed quickly to the ground right beside me within inches. If I had run, it would have landed on me because it came down exceedingly quickly because of all of the pressure pulling it that created the bow in it that launched it my way. It turns out that when the dead tree was still alive, the top of it had grown around a branch that was towards the top of the larger green tree that was next to it. I'll call this parable the parable of the dead tree. Here is the interpretation of this parable that Yehshua gave to me. While the tree that we cut down was still alive, it grew next to Yehshua through eating from the tree of life. It grew so close to him that it cleaved unto him by growing around his branch when his branch grew forth. The branch that it cleaved unto was representative of the Most High Son, and this branch became like an anchor point for the tree. But something happened that caused the tree to die. It was still anchored to the branch on a physical plane, but it still died. Yesterday I spoke about how the clean and unclean statutes testify that if we become like dead people before Yahweh's face, that the atoning blood of his firstborn Son departs from covering us. These statutes testify that we become unclean before his face if we do not walk in his instruction manual. And they testify that when we are unclean before his face, that we are cut off from the atoning sacrifice of his Son's blood. Therefore we are cut off from being his seed. And we are like walking dead people before his face when this happens. The atoning blood that covers our transgressions, if we are walking in his covenant, is the blood that flows from his branch. The dead tree is symbolic of being cut off from the branch that holds us to him through the tree of life. It is Yahweh's word that was made to be in the flesh of his firstborn Son that became the branch that ties us to him. The tree that wove itself around the branch died because even though it was still woven around the branch on a physical plane or on the surface, it was not woven into the branch in spirit and in truth. The religion of Christianity says that they are woven into the branch, but you are full of lies and hypocrisy. You are actually woven into a make-believe branch. There is a reason why Yehshua likened the religious of the day back then to whitewashed tombs. They had omitted the weightier matters of the Torah. They had omitted Yahweh's righteous judgments. They had omitted true belief in putting their trust in his word. They had omitted having a brokenness for all of the abominations done in their midst, even in their own hearts. How much more so is the case with the religion of Christianity today that omits his Torah altogether, along with trampling his Son's shed blood underfoot by using it as a license for transgressing against his Torah. The parable of the dead tree shows that no matter how much we even cleave unto his word on a physical plane, or say that we cleave unto his word with our mouths, if we have omitted the weightier matters of his word, we are shut off and we cease from being his seeds. If this is you, you will not become his planting in the millennium unless you turn from your hypocrisy. Your roots have to be rooted in the living water. My having to beseech Yahweh to bring down this tree is representative of the prayer of the saints. The prayer of the saints is the prayer that Yehshua taught us to pray. Father, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The Most High saints came to a point in cleaving unto him where he taught them that in order for his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven, that all that opposes his will must come crashing down. This became their petition to him, so that his will would be done on earth as it is in heaven. Whether it was an angel that held me in place or simply Yahweh's Spirit telling me to do so when he brought the tree down, I do not know. I just know that his hand was in both the tree crashing down and him protecting me from its fall. And I know that it came crashing down because it was dead, because it was broken off from the branch that kept it standing up until then. And this is symbolic of Christianity being dead, and even though it has stood, even though it is dead. And even though all this is the case, it will soon come crashing down. Yahweh's hand will see to it. It is my prayer, along with it being the prayer of the rest of the saints, for this to be so. All of you who are not cleaving in your flesh and in your spirit unto the Most High through His servant the branch, in spirit and in truth, and this branch, of course, was made to be His word. All of you will soon be cut asunder, and you will come crashing down like the parable of the dead tree shows. Only those of you who are inseparable from Him through His branch, who was given the name of His word, will be left standing in the days ahead. The rest of you will become firewood in His wrath. His word says so. Yes, even this is recorded. It is recorded in several places. And standing with His word is standing with it in both spirit and in truth. Gateway's word testifies that it is those who do, whom He is building His eternal family from. It is those who will cleave unto Him with their entire existence and with their entire heart, with all of their mind, whom He will bring into His eternal family. It is such a life and such a heart that cleaves unto Him in this way that He will cleave unto, and that He will not let be broken away from Him. Inseparable for eternity. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim.